So, today we're diving into this really powerful story about cultural preservation coming out of Singapore. It's about a community led effort to breathe new life into a unique literary heritage, one that's facing a very modern kind of challenge.
And it all starts with a huge question, one that so many cultures can relate to. What do you do when the stories are still being written, but the audience, well, it's starting to drift away? It's a tough problem that communities all over the world are trying to figure out right now.
Well, in Singapore, they found an answer. And it wasn't about looking for some outside solution. Instead, they decided to turn inward, to reconnect a whole new generation with the rich world of stories that's been part of their identity for more than 100 years.
Okay, so to really get why this matters so much, we first have to understand just how deep these literary roots actually go. This isn't some new trend. We're talking about a tradition that's been growing and evolving for a very, very long time.
You know, this whole literary journey goes way back to at least 1872 with the first known Tamil book published there. But the project we're looking at focuses on a really important 60-year stretch from 1965, the year Singapore became its own independent country, all the way to 2025. It's a period that perfectly captures the literary pulse of a nation finding its own voice. And all of this history brings us to the heart of the problem, something you could call the readership paradox. It's this fascinating clash between creation on one side and consumption on the other. Now, you'd probably think that if readership is dropping, people would stop writing books. But that's not what's happening here at all. Get this. On average, a new Tamil book gets published in Singapore pretty much every single week. The creativity is absolutely there. But, and this is the huge but, that's where the paradox really hits you. As the conference chairperson, Mr. Pranavan Sivalingam, puts it, even with all this great new work coming out, there's been a steep drop in people actually reading and, appreciating these local books. So what's going on here? Well, the main reason seems to be a pretty relatable one. Once people finish school, their daily connection to the Tamil language often starts to fade. You know how it is. Life gets busy, you're using other languages at work or with friends, and that bond just weakens over time. So what do you do about a problem like that? Well, the Singapore Tamil Youths Club, or STYC for short, decided they weren't just going to sit back. They created this amazing initiative designed to build a bridge right across that gap, connecting the books to the readers again. And listen, this is way more than your average book club. The process they set up is designed for a really deep engagement. Participants choose a book from that special 60-year period. They read it super closely, they write an essay about it with their own personal thoughts, and then they actually present what they found. It's a full-on deep dive. And to really encourage people to put in that effort, they've got an incentive too. There's a $100 prize for each of the 40 best essays. It's a nice way of saying, hey, we see the hard work you put into this and we really appreciate it. But here's the thing. The real goal here isn't just about getting a few people to read one book. It's so much bigger than that. It's about planting a seed for the future of the entire literary scene. Mr. Sivalingam really hits the nail on the head when he explains the long game. The thinking here is so simple, but it's also brilliant. If you can create a new generation of people who are passionate about reading these works, it's almost inevitable that some of them will get inspired to become the next generation of writers. And this is where we get to this awesome idea of a living literary ecosystem. Think of it like this. Writers and readers, they need each other to survive. It's a two-way street. Writers make the art, but it's the readers who give it life, who talk about it, and who end up inspiring the next wave of creators. You just can't have one without the other. So at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, nurturing that entire ecosystem. The goal is to make sure this incredible literary story isn't just preserved like something you'd look at behind glass in a museum, but that it stays alive, with new chapters always being written. And the group behind all this, the STYC, they've been doing this kind of work for a long, long time. We're talking since 1957. From organizing big events like this conference to publishing books that document their own history, they're constantly working to keep that cultural flame burning. And of course, all these amazing initiatives run on the support and donations from the community itself. And that really brings us full circle. This story from Singapore is such a great reminder that every single community has its own library of stories, some that everyone knows and some that might have been forgotten. It really makes you stop and think, right?
What are the stories in your community that are just sitting there, waiting for someone to rediscover them?